it can encourage you to eat again. It's kind of a rebound hunger. Rebound, is that a word that you guys know? Rebound, bounce back. So it kind of goes up, and so it's a rebound hunger. Rebound hunger can occur. And so then what happens is okay, then you go up again, and then your insulin goes up again, and then this goes down, and then it goes a little too low, and you get hungry again, and you just kind of wind up having to eat all day long, chasing your blood sugar. Is the second thing, and then the third thing is is that insulin does other things in your body besides just drive the sugar into fat. It's kind of like about 6 things that it does, but 3 of the things that are problematic that it does is it causes you to retain water.
Water retention.
Water retention. It causes you to retain water. It increases your blood pressure, which isn't a good thing. And it also increases some things that are associated with inflammation, with kind of swelling in your body. So it does other things, but none of those things are good things either. And so even though your body can handle the carbohydrates, it has at least these 3 things that you don't really want. You don't want fat, storage of fat, you don't want rebound hunger, and you don't want insulin doing these other things. If you eat a meal that doesn't have carbs, then the insulin doesn't come up, and then you don't have these issues. Okay. All right. So, and then then the long-term effect on this one is, I'm going to compare it to alcohol. When we can metabolize, we drink alcohol, you can clear a certain amount of alcohol from your bloodstream. It's about a drink an hour, it will come out. And so, but if you keep drinking too much, your blood alcohol comes up and it can be a problem. If you drink a lot of alcohol for a long time, you can get used to it. Your liver ramps up and you get better at it, and you can kind of hold your liquor. And you can do that. People can drink a lot of alcohol for a lot of years and seem to have a good tolerance for it, but actually they're killing their liver. Proper slide. You're killing your liver slowly with too much alcohol, but for a while you can be doing seemingly pretty well. Well, what's happening if you keep this up with your eating carbs is you're slowly, or on this other side, you're killing your pancreas, this thing that creates the insulin. And so you that should do well when you're young, and then as you get older, you may start having issues. You might start gaining weight or moving towards diabetes. But then finally the pancreas will just give out. And when it kind of gives out, then you move into the diabetic situation. So it's the same thing where you can get away with drinking a lot for a long time. We know people who do that and get away with it. But then finally it can catch up with them. Same thing is happening on this other side. The system isn't built to kind of tolerate that much abuse for as long as we live nowadays. And we'd like to be healthy until 80, 90, or 100. And it's hard to do if you keep doing this to your system. All right, so I'm just going to talk now about a few myths, and then we'll call quits. I'm just going to run through these. So myth number 1 that I hope I've already put to rest is that your current diet that you're eating now in Singapore is the kind of healthy diet that people were kind of built to eat. And it's just not. I mean, we had all these years as hunters-gatherers, and we had kind of this simple agriculture. The last 200 years with the way we process food, this is not what our bodies are used to seeing. And we don't evolve or change that fast. So what we've got is a completely different diet for our bodies than what we're used to. The second one is that, and it's kind of related, that all these because you can have different views. If I can go back to the one. that all of these things are somewhat good for us. That, rice and noodles, bread or potatoes, that those things are healthy foods. They're not. I mean, they're our staples. We're eating a lot of it. And that's how there got to be so many of us all around the world, is because agriculture provides a lot of energy, but it's not good for us. It works for energy, but over the years, as I kind of pointed out, it eventually catches up with us. It's not just diabetes. I mean, it's heart disease and cancer and stroke that are the things that we are finding more and more are related to having an improper diet over the years. So that's myth number 2. Myth number 3, which I'm going to let Kelly address. Myth number 3 is I'm Asian, I can't change my diet. This is just who I am and where I am. So I'm going to let Kelly address that. A few other quick ones, and then we can open up to other questions. Fats, myth number 4, fats make you fat. You've just heard that, it sounds like it makes sense. I mean, fat must make you fat. Well, it's true that fats have more calories in them than other things. But fats are also more filling. It's just hard to eat a lot of fat. Most of us stop after it. You can keep shoveling in the rice till, as you say in the U.S., till the cows come home. But I mean, the metaphor doesn't make sense here. You can keep shoveling that in, but it's hard to eat a lot of fat. And it also stays in your stomach a long time. And so it stays there a long time, and it doesn't do this whole insulin thing. So there are reasons why both fat and protein fat, but also protein, keep you satisfied longer. So I'll just say that. 5th myth is that fats will kill you. There's this whole sense that fats will make your cholesterol levels go up and things will go haywire. And what you'll find is, and if you try it yourself, and what I found is when you cut out your carbohydrates and you eat more fats, your good cholesterol level will go up, your bad cholesterol level will go down, your blood sugars will go down. It's amazing the parameters all move kind of the direction you want them to. And there's a lot of good literature on this. And I give a whole talk about how we got to be so confused about this over the decades. It goes back to the 1950s and some research that was done. So that's the 5th one. 6th myth is that you need sugar as a fuel, that you need carbs and sugar as a fuel. It is true that if you're largely eating carbs, your body has kind of become accustomed to it and will look to sugar for this primary fuel, but it's every bit as good at using fat as the primary fuel. And so if you change from a high carb diet to a low carb diet and instead eat fats for your fuel, your body will learn to do that. Some people's bodies takes a week to learn. Some people, they struggle for a month or 2 or more while their body learns. But it will learn, and then you can get away with, you can stop, it will run out of the fats. There's a number that Kelly will talk more about it. If you can get your carbohydrates down per day to about 50 grams, which isn't very much, your body will completely convert over essentially to using fats. So that's myth 6. Myth 7. This is another whole big talk I give. Myth 7 is that there are magic foods that will make you healthy. That's all about what we talk about with one another, what we read. You gotta eat tomatoes because they have lycopene, or you have to have red wine because it has this, or need to eat this particular seed because it has this particular little compound, or need to eat raspberries because they have this. And there are thousands of these claims out there. And to the extent that they've been looked at scientifically, none of them have borne out. You take people and you take 1,000 people and you give them the essential parts of like lycopene from tomatoes, another 1,000 people, and you don't give it to them, and you do it in a nice, very carefully controlled way, and you follow them for 5 years, there's no difference whatsoever in their health. And this happens over and over and over again when you scientifically look at things. Now there's true that some people will say, that thing made me better, and they give you their personal testimony. Well, it did make them better, but there's 2 possibilities at least to explain that. One is that there's this thing that's well known called the placebo effect, which is, essentially, it's been studied in medicine, but if you believe something is going to help you, the doctor gives it to you, and you think, yeah, that's going to help me. it will probably help you. Our minds are so strong, I feel like I'm picking up where Lawrence left off, that if we believe something is going to work, it's likely to help us. The other thing that happens is if we've been struggling with a problem for a long time, and we try this, and we try that, and we try this, and we try that, and about the time our body's kind of figured out how to heal it on its own, we try something, the 17th thing. The 17th thing is going to get the credit. It's, this is the thing that helped me. And I'm going to tell people, we have the joke among doctors that it's the doctor who's treating the patient when they get better who gets the credit. And so that kind of things happen. So I think when people tell you stories about what helped them, it could be the second thing, it could be if they believed, it's just the time. But I can just tell you, whenever we've looked at trials, we can't find any of these things that have helpful, kind of magical properties. And the other thing, a problem with magical properties is we have this sense of, it gives us permission to do things we know we shouldn't do. So for instance, we will have the Diet Coke because it doesn't have the sugar, or we will have the tomatoes, but because we had the tomatoes, we'll have the big dessert or something else. So by giving it, it's just the way our minds work. If we do something we think is, quote, healthy for ourselves, it gives us permission to do something we know is bad for ourselves. So it doesn't really work. Myth 8, dieting works. Dieting does not. You have to change your lifestyle and do it for the rest of your life. This idea that, it took me 20 years to get out of shape, and now I'm going to exercise for 6 weeks, and then I can stop again for the rest of my life. Well, that's nuts. You have to keep exercising. Well, it's the same thing with dieting. It took me this long to get to where I am by having this wrong diet. I can't do a 6 or 8 or 10 week diet or even 3-month diet thing, get down to the weight I want to be, and then go back to my old diet. I do that, and it's mind-boggling that people think that. But we get sold that. That's what all the people want to sell you something in a package. Myth 9, you need to exercise to lose weight. If you exercise, the first thing you do is you get hungry. And then it's you eat more food. So you don't really need to do it. And it gets into the whole mindset of burning calories. And when you go on Kelly talked about it, essentially a low-carb diet, we don't talk about counting calories at all. We don't restrict food. You eat as much fat and protein as you want, but you don't worry about calories because it's not what the problem is this problem with insulin driving things into fat. People can gain weight even when they're not getting enough total calories in this crazy scheme because it gets driven into fat and their body slows down because they're not getting enough calories. And you can really get in a cycle here that makes no sense, but it has to do with the way our hormones act in our body. All right, so that's my talk. I'm going to answer 3 questions that somebody submitted before. One is there such a thing as a safe starch? You'll read about that. And my response is no. There are things that are better than other things. If you're going to eat a potato, for instance, a sweet potato, even though it's got the word sweet in it, just the way it's kind of constructed, it hits your bloodstream more slowly than a white potato. And so if we go to this diagram, what happens is it still has all these carbs in it, but it's more complex inside, and it makes a slower rise to your blood sugar, and your insulin kind of gets a better start on it. So if you eat, a complex or a simple carb, instead of having a complex carb, instead of getting that bump, it'll kind of look more like that, and your insulin response will actually be a lot less. So it's still not safe in a way, but it's a lot safer than eating the simple thing. So that's one. Are there good fats and bad fats? Animal fats versus plant fats? For a while, fats were totally demonized in terms of they were all bad. And then what we've heard recently is that certain plant fats, certain like olive oil or other polyunsaturated fats are really healthy. I think the research is on the way to showing that the fats are probably all about the same, whether they're animal or plant fat in terms of how they affect us, and they're certainly better than even the carbs. And, you know, and it's kind of crazy at an intellectual level. You think when we do create fats in our own body, they are animal fats. I mean, we're an animal. So the idea that, you know, that eating the kind of fats that we are is worse for us than eating the kind of fats that plants are, you know, it's a bit counterintuitive as well. So that's the second one. And then I'll come back to it. So I want to close with the challenge. If you're happy with, I'm not trying to change anybody's life who doesn't want their life changed. If you're happy with your diet now, your weight, your cholesterol levels, your sugars, and all those things, you know, fine. Then good for you. If you're not happy with where you're at, you're struggling with your weight, struggling with cholesterol, you got early diabetes or something else, you can try a low-carb diet. And I think there's 4 things you should look for if you try it. And Kelly will talk about what a low-carb diet is like. One is watch your weight go down. If you truly go on a low-carb diet, almost everybody responds with weight loss. It's kind of like, wow. And you respond with weight loss without feeling particularly hungry. You may miss the carbs. You didn't kind of really would like that bread or those, whatever, the rice. But that's different than being hungry, because you can still have, you know, all you want to eat. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, this is particularly those of us who are over 40 or starting to have small little aches and pains around their body. You feel some of those, often you feel many of those go away. And that's because of this thing about reduced inflammation. When you stop setting your insulin up, you'll have less of these inflammatory factors circulating in your body. And so you'll watch some of the little aches and pains go away. So look for that. Your cholesterol and your blood sugar levels will improve. You should just check and compare what they were like before and after. And I think finally you'll find out that over time that this is an enjoyable and sustainable way to live, even in Singapore. So, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.